Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we are discussing Cry for Help, the first episode of the second Stephen Bomb, Week of Sardonyx. That's the first time you're hearing that, I'm guessing, Chris, unless you looked it up after watching Cry for Help.
Yeah,
I suspect you didn't.
No, I haven't heard. Yeah, no. I haven't heard that.
So this bomb is called Week of Sardonyx. And before we get into it, any ideas where you think it's going from here? Just straight out the bat, I'm going to go straight for a question, Chris. I know we usually do this at the end, but I'm curious.
I think that the animosity between... I don't think the animosity between Pearl and Garnet will be resolved. I reckon that tension will continue to grow and grow. I hadn't really theorised any more than that. If I was to theorise on the spot, maybe because she's constantly sent out the signal, it comes... they come, we see Yellow Diamond appear, or maybe it's like some Civil War shit between the gems, pretty much that.
Well, there you go. So for those who don't remember, Chris, recap the episode.
Cool. Can I just say, it won't affect anyone, but I basically power walked to, still be late, in fact, for this recording, but I stink. And I'm in a room with all the windows and doors closed, and I imagine that smell's only going to get worse. So I just want you to know that that's where I'm at. In terms of the episode, Stephen... What?
I mean, it's just not... It's not smell-o-vision. I don't know why.
I just want people to know the lengths we go to.
Gotcha.
Carry
on.
So Stephen's watching TV, and then a message appears from Peridot calling, saying that she's stuck on Earth. She's calling out for Yellow Diamond, and they're like, "Fuck, what's going on? Must be a signal." And Garnet's like, "There can only be one place." So they go to this place, and they break the signal by Pearl and Garnet fusing to produce a fusion whose name I can't remember. We see right away that
Sardonyx.
Sardonic, right. That would be why, because when you were like, Week of Sardonic, I was like, what does that mean? Oh, yeah, cool. Right, she's called, that makes more sense. So the whole week is about, like, we see that fusion every week?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see Sardonyx every episode, but the Week of Sardonyx, I suppose you could argue maybe the effects of Sardonyx is felt throughout the whole 5-episode run. Okay. Maybe.
My theory about them arguing still correct. Cool.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, but I'd still have to say... My point is, like, I'd still... Even if I realised that connection, even if I remembered that was the name, I would have still theorised that even more so.
Gotcha.
So this fusion is a bit cheeky, a bit game show-esque, but very elegant, very smooth. Dismantles the signal tower thing, and they all are gravy, apart from Amethyst, who's a bit annoyed and a bit jealous. I don't know, I'm talking like a twat. A bit jealous. So the next day, signal's back. They go back a bit again, they destroy it again. All very good. Stephen notices that Amethyst is feeling a bit down about this, or feeling a bit jealous, so he takes her along to a kind of a secret watch of the area for when Peridot returns. I'm like, bad plan, guys. But okay. They realised it's not Peridot at all. Well, at least Pearl reveals later that the first one was Peridot, but the second time she broke the signal. She's been putting it back deliberately so that her and Garnet have a reason to fuse. So we see the reappearance of Aunt Crazy Pearl, and arguably, like, Aunt Craziest Pearl, because this is just genuinely a fucking bad idea.
Yeah.
I got to stop swearing. I'm sorry. But this is like crazy to the
on
extreme.
On all levels, a bad idea. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, which is weird, but fine. So then they see that, it gets revealed. Amethyst kind of defends her, surprisingly, and is like, it's the only time we feel powerful, which is really cool and a really nice message. And I hope if the whole week is about that, they develop this more, because it's cool, but they don't do a lot to necessarily... When she says that, you're like, oh, okay, that's what this is about then, is it? Like, feeling powerful. I don't know if they necessarily lay the groundwork for that in this episode.
But it's interesting because this episode is sort of a sequel to Coach Stephen, where that exact same tower is interfering with the TV signals in the town, and they form Sugarlight to take it down. And there's some really cool nods between the two episodes in like what Garnet says. I'm seeing if I can find the quote here, but it's annoyingly it's not directly in front of me, which I should have had it ready. But basically, on that occasion, she basically was like, we don't need to be subtle, we just need to smash. So she becomes Sugarlight with Amethyst, and it gets out of hand. And that's why in this episode they have to travel there via Lion, because if you look in the background, the warp pad is still smashed from Coach Steven.
Ah, that's cool.
Because in Coach Steven, when they turn to Sugarlight and start taking it all down really like quite violently, Pearl and Steven get out of there quick because there's debris going everywhere, and a big rock hits the warp pad and smashes it just after they transfer through. And that's why Sugarlight has to come back. It takes Sugarlight a day or two to come back. She literally travels by just walking and like smashing everything in her way.
You said, yeah.
And so this is them going back to that. Peridot has repurposed that same communication tower for her needs to send out that message. And this time,
I thought Coach Steven was the one with the. Oh no, that's Beach Party. Okay, yep, carry on.
Yeah, Coach Steven. Yeah, because he sees Garnet with Amethyst as being strong, and Pearl sings about being strong in the real way, and that's why this is also interesting because. Even Pearl, who in that moment was like, Steven, can't you see? I mean, to be fair, though, one of the lyrics of that song is, it's essentially not because I'm jealous. She hints at being jealous in that song anyway, Pearl, that Garnet chose to fuse with Amethyst. So I think that they both really, really enjoy fusing with Garnet, and I think it's something they don't get to do very often, and finding an excuse to do that is really
That's a real, and so just to conclude, the end of the episode is this brilliant note where you see Crazy Breakfast Friends do the obvious animation, "I forgive you," and they don't do that here. Pearl and Garnet are still fighting, which I thought was phenomenal. I thought that was brilliant. It was exciting. It was, not pandering to the young audience. It was spot on. Going to what you said, yes, now that you've explained that, I can see that. But Coach Steven was a long time ago, and a whole season ago. So if you're a kid watching this live, are you going to get that? Then again, would it matter if you didn't get that if you're a kid watching it live? I don't know.
Yeah. I've got the quote, by the way. In this episode, Garnet says, "What we need now is to be careful," when proposing the fusion to Pearl. But when she originally said it in Coach Steven to Amethyst, she says, "We don't need to be careful, we just need to be huge." So it's really neat that matches.
It sounds like there are great parallels, but I think that it would be dependent on you being a big enough fan to realise that, or you rewatching Coach Steven.
Yeah, it is sort of a sequel to Coach Steven as an episode, and I think it's interesting because when Garnet chooses to fuse with Pearl, you think where this episode is going is Amethyst struggling to deal with that choice for Garnet to have created Sardonyx with Pearl rather than Sugarlight with her, which, by the way, Sugarlight does briefly appear in this episode, but doesn't get any lines because Nicki Minaj is clearly too expensive to get in for one line.
It's also sort of hidden in shadows and stuff. That was an interesting visual choice as well, I thought.
Yes, really well done, though. Really, really effective visual. That shot of Sugarlight stood there as the tower is crumbling in front of it, that's really, really well done. But I think what's interesting, I suppose, is, for me at least, it's that you think the episode is going to follow Amethyst and feeling like, because she sings this song, Tower of Mistakes, about how she's made some mistakes. Like when they were last Sugarlight, it got out of hand, and she thinks that was her fault, and she thinks Garnet thinks that, and therefore that's why Garnet really chose to fuse with Pearl this time. Whereas I actually think the reality is Garnet just wanted to be more careful about it this time. I don't think, but Amethyst, and you think the plot's going to go that way, and when it turns into this Garnet versus Pearl situation, where Garnet is understandably angry at being lied to. For a couple of reasons, and this is another one that's really interesting. Fusion is obviously quite a personal thing to Garnet, considering how Garnet exists. So for Pearl to lie, to make that happen, to build a fusion upon a lie, that must be really hurtful to Garnet for many reasons. And I think that it's not quite made clear here, but that's something that's going to play into it going forward. Because what's interesting about this episode is it also, for possibly the first time in the show, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I can't think of another episode that ended with the emotional thrust of that particular plot completely unresolved.
No. I can barely think of an animated, and I appreciate maybe it's just I don't know that many animated shows, but I can't think of many animated shows, period, that have ended like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was really like, ho ho ho, like I thought that was very impactful.
Yes, really well done. And of course a great excuse for us to meet Sardonyx, who is a brilliant gem. And you're right, you nailed it on the head. You hit the nail on the head, I should say, with sort of game show host / magician, and it's such an interesting notion.
Yeah, because it's like Garnet has a real natural confidence and power, and it was like Pearl, because Pearl wants to have that confidence and power, but has that sort of elegance and command. Putting them together, you just, in the hands of someone like Pearl, that power would make you quite cocky. Like, she
100%.
was a game show host or someone that, like, knows I think there's, like, 3 people in the world. There's people that don't know they're so talented. There's people that know they're talented and just get on with it. Actually, there's 4 types. There's people that know they're talented, kind of just get on with it, but also kind of make jokes about them being talented, but are somehow so talented they get away with being cocky. And then there's dickheads who know they're talented and are cocky about it with no redeeming feature. And she was kind of verging between 3 and 4, but it makes complete sense as a fusion.
Yeah, it's again, the show continually impresses me with the fusions and how they characterize them. They're just so well thought out. And of course this is the missing fusion as well. So you must have been quite excited when you heard that they were going to fuse. Watching this, because this is the one we haven't yet. This is the only one left of the main 3 we haven't seen.
Yeah, it was very, and like I think you'd even pointed that out, and I was like, I got a quite like this was the missing one when we saw the other one. I got a question. Did you think it was an interesting choice? I get parallels between Coach Steven, but did you think it was an interesting choice that previously when Amethyst has got emotional, she's lashed out and got angry, whereas this had her sing a sad song? Yeah. So do you think Adeling it was the right approach, or do you think it was seemed out of character?
Can we make Adeling it like an actual word? Yeah, it is an interesting choice. You're right. It does feel slightly out of character, but I think in this case, the way I saw it, and this is me adding my own implications to it. I think in this case, she was hurt at the idea that Garnet wouldn't trust her anymore, more than the usual, just bitter and angry at everything and everyone. I think because it was Garnet's opinion of her. It's that whole, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. She didn't get angry like she's gotten in the past when it's been Pearl. She was disappointed. She was upset with herself for that. You know what I mean? And in that case, I think she reacted differently because it's not quite the same. So I looked at it as specifically the element of Garnet made her reaction different.
That's fair.
I don't know if that does completely explain it, but it's certainly, it could certainly explain it. It's a really good song as well. It's the one song I always forget. It always gets lost in the shuffle tower of mistakes because it's
quite short.
It's very short. It's kind of out of nowhere in the plot of the episode, and it's not actually where the episode ends up going. The Amethyst plotline is really only there to serve as the Steven going, hey, well, I'll tell you what, we'll try and catch Peridot, and then you'll be back in Garnet's good books. Because obviously Amethyst, incorrectly I suspect, thinks that somehow she's upset Garnet or Garnet doesn't trust her anymore. So this whole, we'll go on our own little jaunt and catch Peridot because we're so smart, like that is necessary to catch Pearl. So you wonder, like, is it worth taking a character on an arc that doesn't really get completed in order to do that? Would there not have maybe been an easier way to get them to discovering the truth about Pearl? It's a thought. I don't know if it's correct to even question it, but it's certainly something that occurred to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I thought her Amethyst sticking up for Pearl was just made all the more powerful because of that kind of...
You know what, you're right, actually, because that is one of my favourite moments of the whole episode, when Amethyst actually says, well, look, Garnet, you don't understand, like, you don't know what it feels like to fuse with you. It makes you stronger, and it's something that's very, very, almost... I shouldn't say it this way, but she basically hints that it's almost like addictive.
Yeah, well, certainly that's certainly what Pearl's shown us. Let's talk about, because I mean, it truly is a stupid thing to do, and I get why Garnet's annoyed, and it is like, whoa, like that's a dick move, like it's powerful.
Yeah, I think. Would you like the? I don't think I kept thinking like I've got to remember to tell.
Do you have no thoughts on that being a dick move? Then you're just like, yeah, and then you moved on.
Sorry, no, I thought you were concluding the previous discussion. We would, yeah. I mean, it is a dick move though. I think, yeah, I think we sort of covered it. That's why I thought you were giving a closing thought rather than
For those, fair enough. I apologise. For those unsure, we're saying dick move. Carry on, Dan.
Yeah, I think I would say so, because I think do you not think the show is written in a way that makes us supposed to sort of? I suppose you're right, because it is trying to argue for both sides, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose there is something maybe we said that. I felt like dick move, because she's also risking them getting caught, because she's making that signal run for longer. So yeah, total dick move in my opinion. So Garnet is absolutely in the right. Although, crying breakfast friends did keep sort of showing like the various crying breakfast friends like making up and like, I forgive you. So it's all very like deliberately.
Well, you do. I'm glad that partly because of timing, because like shit goes down at like 8 minutes, and I was like, man, if they do an apology, it's gonna feel rushed. And I'm like, oh, they're not doing an apology. What was your other notes? What were you gonna say then?
Oh yeah, I really want to point out how cool the weapon is for Sardonyx. The two gauntlets merge the thing to make a big hammer. That's so cool. Big mallet thing.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I always love seeing the weapons merge together. Like they're always cool.
That shit's a Megazord, mate.
I know.
I've got to stop swearing. I'm so sorry, guys.
Chris is like in a really sweary mood today. I don't actually know off the top of my head who voices Sardonyx. I feel like I should, but I don't legitimately know off the top of my head. Let me see if I can find out who voices Sardonyx. Because Nicki Minaj voices Sugalite, which is definitely why Sugalite does not say anything in this episode. Because why would you bring in Nicki Minaj for a 5-second clip to have Sugalite be like, yeah? Because that's all Sugalite would need to say for the scene.
Based on Nicki Minaj, I'm going to guess Dolly Parton.
Right. Oh, I see. You're just going down the line of like if they got based on the person they hired for that character. If we're going down that same line of like a famous singer who would suit Sardonyx, Dolly Parton.
Why not? And just for the time when Sardonyx like, you know what? We're so good. We've been at this all day. We've been working 9 to 5. Ain't no way to make a living. That was just. Who doesn't want that?
I don't know this lady who's voicing her. That's unfortunate. She's been in. She's a veteran of the West End. She's been characters in Wicked and Les Mis and Book of Mormon, and she was even Nala in The Lion King. So this lady's like a West End voice legend apparently. Her name is.
I'm pretty sure Dolly Parton was in Les Mis. I'm pretty sure she was the one that stole the bread.
Yeah, she was, and she taught Russell Crowe how to not sing. Anyway, it's Alexa Kadame. No, I'll go with that. I'll go with that attempt at pronouncing it and hope that no one yells at me. Also,
any other notes?
Yeah, a few little ones. When the TV set was vibrating, the noise it makes is the same sound the Wailing Stone made when Greg was trying to make the audio and video come out of that. Thought that was neat.
It's cool.
There's a deleted scene apparently out there in the world where Stephen pulls a snack out of Lion's mane. They just chopped it for time, I'm guessing. So there you go. Yeah, that
scene would add nothing.
No, but I do love that he keeps stuff in there now. I think that is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Originally, it had been accidentally
during the first montage where she's gracefully knocking it down. They could have had him just reach in and take a snack,
pulling out a bag of chips or something. Yeah, popcorn or something. Yeah, I agree. The Latin American voice actress for Steven confirmed Sardonyx would debut in this episode well before she should have. So that's a thing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's see.
While you're looking, I will say, in terms of snacks, one of my favourite gags in a Doctor Who episode, because I love to reference Doctor Who, is in the very underrated Return of Dr. Mysterio, where Peter Capaldi's Doctor is eating sushi. And he's like, while they're watching aliens like kill each other, and he's just like, "What? I brought snacks. I'm a professional." I thought that was great.
It's good. It is good. Apparently, because obviously the Keep Beach City Weird blog exists, and they used to update it, or still do probably for certain episodes. And apparently, a blog post went up during after this episode where he reported on having seen Peridot's video on his TV. So that's a neat little. Cool. That's a neat little. That's a good use of Ronaldo off the screen.
Yep.
Anyway, let's have a look. Oh yeah, this episode does not end with the sort of star-shaped iris closing in on a specific object, which has become quite popular in the show. Kind of noteworthy, I suppose, making a point about the importance of the ending of this episode, or the sort of like the emotional weight of what's happened.
Like when EastEnders doesn't use the drums, he uses that sad music instead.
Yeah. Yeah, or when 24 doesn't end on the ticking clock because someone just died, it just ends on pure silence with the clock visible, which is really weirdly powerful. I don't know how that works, but every time that happens, I'm like, oh god, Edgar.
For those wondering, EastEnders, a British soap opera.
Yeah, I'm sure they know. I reckon people know what EastEnders is. I was surprised we referenced Ant and Dec on this thing, and someone was like, we know who Ant and Dec are. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Ant and Dec are a thing.
You're like, sorry.
In the States. I was like, all right. Also, I just wanted to point out the weird cactus looking like Peridot. I thought that was the funniest bit of the whole episode. I laughed so hard when they were looking for Peridot and it was a cactus. I just enjoyed that. Let's see. There was one other bit. No, I think I've got the rest. Oh, obviously the implication here is that at some point between when they got it and now, Pearl has repaired Peridot's escape pod. Because obviously now functions. It got damaged by, I think, Garnet. She tore it apart to get Steven out last we saw it. Let's have a look. No, that's about it. The other stuff I've talked about, which is continuity stuff relating to Coach Steven. So why the warp pad is broken, that it's the same communication hub. So there you go.
Cool. Good episode.
Yeah, I like this one. I like Sardonyx, and I think that now we have our trio of the original Gems fusions. My thought now was, now we need to start throwing Steven into the mix. That was my thought when I watched this episode. That's an exciting
prospect. And I just think this is like, obviously that's an exciting prospect long term, but also just fun. It's just nice to be on this bomb. This bomb is already stronger.
Yeah. So yeah, because I mean, I think like, because we've had Opal, Sardonyx, and Sugalite, the main three combinations possible now. So it's I mean, what's left to do, other than start throwing Steven into the mix. So yeah, that was where I was when I do you think that what do you think they'll do with that then? Because now we've seen Steven and Connie, and I remember when we first talked about Steven fusing with someone else. You threw out the idea of it not being one of the original Gems, one of the three originals. You were talking about Connie and Lapis, and even Greg for a minute, I think. And where do you stand on that now, then?
Don't be like you were right about this, except for your dumb Greg theory. It's fine. They can put him with anyone now. I don't feel like they should put him with Garnet just yet. I think Pearl or Amethyst would be my choice. There's so much tied into fusion with Garnet. And it's such a big thing that I would go Pearl or Amethyst first.
Which one most interests you?
Amethyst, because Steven still has elements of being a child, and of the three Gems, Amethyst is most childish. So would we just get some rampaging child fusion?
It's a good thought.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think no matter who fuses with who, it's always going to end up being cool, because they've shown a propensity at this point of making every fusion as interesting as I don't think.
I think it'd be hard to cock up.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to bring my opinion of the writing team down at this point because they've done such a good job. I remember when we first watched Giant Woman and you were like, "Oh, I'm sad they showed Opal." I hope we would have built up to that. And I was like, "Yeah, but there's more. There's more combinations. Is that not a hook for you, Chris?" And you were just like, "I've seen one now."
The emo Chris before he was a fan of the show.
Before you. Wow, you just referred to yourself as a fan of the show.
I've referred to myself as a fan before.
Have you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Fan
talked about
chats
you.
with
We
my
talked
mate
about you
Sam,
getting a
if you'd let
tattoo.
me. Oh yeah, exactly.
Which gem are you getting tattooed? That's the question.
Just so it's not too obvious, anyone but Pearl.
Any?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
I saw a comment that was because I was worried that like people would be like, "Man, Chris is a bit weird with Pearl. Like it's a bit. It's a gag." And then I saw a comment. My friend showed me a comment that was like, "I'm glad Chris likes Pearl as much as I do." I was like, "Oh, okay." Wouldn't matter if it wasn't a bit like.
No, I think that was that not in the that might have been from the Q&A when you actually said Pearl might be your favorite gem.
Oh, okay, right. I thought it was from they. Well, I don't really know because, like I said, I'm just kind of shown the comments.
Yeah, it's without
but,
context sometimes. I can't even remember. Did we? We could not settle on favorite gem. We really struggled.
Yeah, so I think it might have been during you accusing me of fancying Pearl.
It might have been. I don't know. I don't think we really
the
ever
first
really
time.
settled on a gem favorite.
No, you can't. You can't.
Well, because I kept saying we all want Garnet, but then we relate to different gems. Because I relate to I do relate to Amethyst's plight, so it's and yeah, so there's elements of all the gems I think in most people. That's why it's such a well-designed show. Anywho, that's episode 1 of The Bomb out of the way. Cry for help. We'll be back, I suppose, in a day for the next one. So that's everything. In a day. So that's everything for this episode. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you tomorrow as we discuss Keystone Motel.